This is E-Commerce Uncensored. Brought to you by Fast Forward Unlimited. We're coming to you fully loaded and exposed with all the strategies and techniques for growing your e-commerce business.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 60. I'm Kevin Manel. I'm here with
Jason Caruso
and Paulie Chu in the background, taking pictures and doing all kinds of other things. Say hi, Paulie.
Hey guys, what's going on?
So, for those of you who've been following our podcast and following our Instagram and our social media, we are back in our studio after a 2-week hiatus because of a flood. So that's really... And you're okay, Jason? Oh, you okay?
Yeah,
okay,
I just wanted to cough. Sorry.
And I have one other special announcement to make. You guys know what this is going to be?
We have a refrigerator.
We got a full-size refrigerator in the office for the first time. We've never had a full-size refrigerator, so we have 4 guys in here trying to work out of like a dorm room refrigerator.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is like half of it was filled up with beer, so it's like there's no room for our lunch. You know, you can't do anything.
Yeah, every morning I'd hear Jason come in and try to jam his lunch bag into the refrigerator, and I could just hear the glass bottles just jingling all around. So we got it delivered this morning. Home Depot delivered it this morning, so we're super psyched about it. That's the grand announcement.
Yeah, I mean, and it's taken, I don't know, whatever it's been since you guys opened this business, because you're cheap, and you don't want to buy a $500 freaking refrigerator.
The funny part is I think at one point I had 2 mini fridges going at once.
Right, 300 each, where you can spend 500 and get the big one.
So it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see 3 idiots this morning opening the door, closing it, looking in it.
And we have like this little room. It's not like a big kitchen area, but the 3 of us are just staring at the refrigerator.
Yeah, it was like
in awe.
Right. Meanwhile, the one at home is like 3 times the size, but it's just, you know, we're not used to it here. So.
Yeah, now we just have to get more beer.
Right, exactly.
And we have to turn our mini fridge into a kegerator.
Well, you already started looking at that. So.
Priorities, I told you.
So, although we haven't really had any drinks here lately. I mean, that's the funny part. Like you bought all those beers and we didn't even have one.
Yeah, well, we had some when we were moving all our stuff back in.
Right.
We had a few.
All right.
Anyway, let's get started. So today we talked about like picking a topic, and we always pick a topic kind of the morning of our podcast, which is interesting because I know a lot of other podcasts, they probably do a lot of research and they do a lot of things, but we kind of like just go off our experiences as they happen to us.
Yeah, it's just like I know a lot of people do plan and they have this list and they have all this other stuff, but like for us, we just try to talk about what we're going through like right now. And, you know, it's easy to talk about things that you're going through, you know, and instead of just manufacturing crap.
When you're in the midst of doing all these things, it makes it like, it's like fresh and it's new. So that's kind of why we come in the morning, like, okay, Jason, what are we going to talk about? And we kind of just lay it out. So today we're going to be talking about email again. I know this is another thing we talked about this morning, Jason, about talking about email too much. Are we talking about it too much? Is it getting old? But we feel like there's just so much there. You know, so much value with email that we want to continue to just keep feeding you guys these kinds of things. So today we're going to be talking about a couple things that we've noticed that are some key elements to a successful email marketing
Well, the
strategy.
difference between a successful, you know, campaign and one, because we come on here all the time and we're like email. And I think that, you know, I know when I was on the other side of this, I used to hear people and listen to people, and, you know, it's like they make it seem like it's always perfect, and they make it seem like it always goes well. And, you know, for us, it doesn't always go well. It just doesn't. I mean, that's a fact. And anybody tells you that it works every single time is lying. However, you know, we do have the, you know, pleasure of working with a lot of different clients, and we can sort of see patterns. And you know, there are patterns between some of our most successful clients with email and some of our clients who aren't as successful at email. I mean, this is just specifically talking about email. So that's what we want to talk about. We want to tell you guys or talk to you guys about specifically 4 things that we see in our most successful email clients compared to the people who aren't as successful. And Kev, I don't know if you want to start off with number 1.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 is you know, the health of your list. Are the people on your list engaged with you? Have they do they get consistent emails?
Yeah, I mean, there are people that we've worked with that, either purchased a list or acquired a list or, maybe had customers who purchased through direct mail and they moved them over to email without the customer knowing. So, the amount of times that this list has been emailed, whether or not the customer is actually, waiting for your email. And I don't mean waiting like sitting by, at the edge of their chair waiting, but like what's the, like, are they expecting it? Are they expecting an email from you? Because that's another big thing. It's like, if people aren't expecting an email from you, you're going to have to warm them up. You're going to have to get them used to you and get them used to seeing emails from you. And we see a really big correlation between, although we do have, there's always exceptions to the rule, and we do have one client who never sent an email to her list, and we sent, so far 3 offer emails, and she did like 11,000, 22,000. I'm sorry, 14,000, 22,000, and then 11,000, just with these 3 emails, and she's never emailed before. But, most of the time, that's not going to happen. Most of the time, you have to get people used to seeing you send them emails. So the health of the list, is really like a big thing, because we have some clients that, just the campaigns that we run aren't as successful as some of our really high performing ones.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people come to us that have, 100,000 people on their list. And the first thought is like, oh my, that's great. Like, I got 100,000 people on my list. This is going to be a huge success. But when you break down like the people that are on this list, you could have like 50,000 people on the list that don't even, the emails don't even exist anymore.
Well, right. That's the other thing is like, the emails have changed. I mean, you're talking specifically about one of our clients who has, they have little stores throughout, the mall, and they have 2 separate clients, or customers. They have customers that walk into the mall and buy, and then they have clients who buy, strictly through finding them, on the internet. And the people who walk into the malls and buy in person, it does, that list, it can be huge, and it is huge. As Kevin said, 100,000 people on the list, but it doesn't mean that it's going to translate into sales when you bring it over, to online. And, to me, I would say that's not a real healthy list. It's not something that, I would say is going to be, your ideal type of situation.
Yeah, but there's ways that we can also, like, we'll take this list and we'll put them through a series of emails or something like that will we'll be able to see how healthy they are, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking more like, for results now. I mean, that list is not going, is not going to get results the first day you send an email. Whereas when you send an email to people who have purchased on your website, there's a good chance you're going to get results right away. That's all I'm saying, So anyway.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
That's number 1. Number 2 is a big one. I think number 2 is probably one of, I think the health of the list is the most important. If you don't have a healthy list, then you're not going to go anywhere. But I think number 2 is probably like the second, and we didn't do this purposely, but it is probably the second most important thing, and that's having multiple products to sell to people, right? And, Kev, now looking at this list, number 2 and number 4 kind of
are together.
We can, kind of put these together, as he said. Basically, having multiple products that complement each other, right? It's very important to have, products that kind of can coexist, where, you have one and you may need another. And those tend to be very easy to upsell. It's very easy to get clients or customers to purchase multiple times when you have products that complement each other or that sort of work together,
Yeah, a lot of times we'll find like one product that's hot, that people will get people in the door or to acquire a customer or something like that. But you need some, along with upsells and things as they go through this process. But as you email them, to email them the same product over and over again can really start to go back to, you could fatigue the list. And I see that you wrote that on the board too, with the fatiguing a list. I don't know if we ever
Yeah, I mean,
talked
that's
about
right.
that.
A fatigue list is one that you send the same offer to over and over. And, yeah, I mean, and that's a big thing because it depends on your product as well. I mean, if you have a product that people are using and you know they need it in a certain time period, then yeah, you probably can sell either like a continuity program, which is a monthly program, or you can sell the same product over and over. But when you have a product that may not be used, it could there's different times that the product is can take to use. It's a little bit difficult, and
and the multiple products and that complement each other. It's like, so if you're selling a camera, to then go back and sell them like a football or something like that really wouldn't make much sense. So, but to have a camera for sale and then to sell them like a lens, that kind of thing can really help.
Like a case,
strap or a case or something like
those
that.
Things like you, if you have a camera, you need those other things.
We tell people a lot of times, and if you've heard our other podcasts, that we tell people to start out with a general store, to start out with that kind of thing where you're selling a bunch of different products, but that's only to find your niche, right? Once you hone in that niche, then you can build along that product. And that's kind of where this is what we're talking about here.
Right. So multiple products that complement each other, consistency, and
to continue to solve a similar problem, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And that's for sure. I mean, our top customers seem to have that. And by the way, our exception to the rule is really selling one product. However, it's what's the word? It's a product that is used pretty quickly, right? Like it's what would the word be? I don't know what word I'm trying to find. But the product itself is something that these people use every single day, so that it runs out. And so we are having a lot of success with selling the same product over and over, but it's because it's being consumed very quickly.
Right, exactly.
So, and they have
a short lifespan.
Yeah,
so
short
they
lifespan.
need it. You know that they're going to need it. So
yeah. So number 3, and this, I believe. We've spoken about number 3 before, and I think that, we get clients who, they love their product, right? They're in love with their product. And to them, 5% off of their baby is like a big thing, right? Like it cuts into profit. It does, they're so emotionally attached that they send out offers that aren't really that attractive, right? Like the point of an offer is to get someone over the hurdle or to make them feel like they have to take you up on this offer or they're going to lose out. And so having an attractive offer, having an offer that changes someone's buying pattern is really important,
and making them want to stay a part of the list or the community of people that you're sending emails to. Even if you send an offer to somebody that they may not use at a time, but they happen to see it, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a decent offer." They're more willing to stay on the list and maybe wait for the next offer or something. And that's a big part of what we're doing when we engage customers for the first time. We make sure we put an attractive offer in with it to just capture their attention and not make them want to jump ship and, oh, this is a 5%. This sucks. I don't want to stay on this list. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like if you're, it goes back to our 5 keys that I'm not going to get into right now. But if you're giving them an offer that they only can get on email, so there's urgency and there's all the other stuff we talk about, that's part of it. That's really important. Like if you can't have a 50% off on the website and then have 50% off in the email, that there's no reason for them to stay on your list. So
yeah, make them feel special while they're there.
Yeah, and so the offer has to be attractive. And, like I said, some of our products have huge, profit margins. So they have more flexibility. And some of our other clients don't have as much profit margin in their product. So it's a little more difficult. But, really, if the offer isn't attractive, I don't really care what you're selling. You know, if I'm a billionaire and you want to sell me a $5 million car, and to me that like that price can be anything, but it's not really that attractive to me. I don't want a $5 million car, even though I might be able to afford it. But if you take that $5 million car and say, look, I'm going to give it to you for $2 million, now maybe, that becomes attractive to me. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Those are like the things that I think that when we look at our clients, another thing that doesn't hurt is if you have a list of people who have already purchased from you, because your buyers are much easier to sell to. They're 6 or 7 times easier to sell to. So, but I think like this is like a good thing like for you to think about. Like these are what we're seeing our clients that are really successful what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, your point about customers, people who already bought from you, how that's going to be a healthier list than someone who maybe hasn't bought yet. So, that goes into like segmenting your list and from your non-buyers to your buyers. So that's going to be a big part of it too, because you can send different offers, different attractive offers to different people. You might want to get the people who haven't bought from you, give them maybe, a really strong offer to get them over the hurdle of actually taking out their credit card. You could do things.
Yeah, the
like
other
that.
thing is I just ran a campaign from one of my clients, and I sold. They actually have they're using Shopify. They're integrating it with MailChimp, and actually, their list is fairly small. It's like 3,500 people on the list. I mean, the list is like bananas. I mean, it makes money every time I send an email. But it's funny that I segmented the list. Like this last email I sent for him, and I did like buyers, and like there was like out of the 3,500 there was 22 people who purchased, and like I'm like, well, if there's 3,500 people on this list and only 22 of them have purchased ever, like why am I even like spending any time on the people who have never purchased? So it's just something to think about. Like, and I did. I sent out an offer. I was very aggressive about it, and I only sent it to the buyers. And I went through our normal sequence, sending one email to someone, then changing the subject line, then changing, all that jazz. But the point is that I really kind of ignored the non-buyers, and so
yeah, I mean, I think you can't be afraid to cut down your list. I mean, just because you have 100,000 person list doesn't mean you have 100,000 buyers. Don't be afraid to like just get people off your list that aren't engaged or have never bought from you, or there's a lot of benefit to that, because when you send out a smaller list, you get more engagement, you get more people reach, more people opens, because you get those truly engaged customers, or list subscribers, I guess you could say.
Right. And if you're having problems with an email campaign, write these things down and try to see how your product or your website fit into this. Like how your stuff, like number one, is my list healthy? If the answer is yes, then go down to the next one. Do I have multiple products? Yes or no? How fast are my products being consumed by my customers? That's important, because that you're going to need to know when you should be emailing them again. And then number 3 would be, is my offer attractive enough? And that's important. So if, you can have several emails where the offer gets more and more attractive as you go down the age of the sequence. But yeah, I mean, try to stick your product. And by the way, are your products, do they complement each other? If you're selling some sort of like mascara or like some kind of makeup, facial makeup, and then you try to sell like a foot, like, whatever, it's just not congruent. There's nothing in there that's going to make, and we, it's funny. We see clients do that. They come in here and they have like a product, and then they try, because they think they have traffic, they try to sell these other products that have nothing to do with each other, and it never works, ever. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's it.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for for tuning in. You can check out all the podcast notes at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Later.
Later.